Hey everyone, it's Dr. Tim and Hilary in another installment of the DrTm's Aquatics podcast. How you doing, Hilary?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Finally back in the office. It's been a kind of a crazy month, which we're going to recap a little bit for everybody. Lots of shows going on, lots of shows coming up, lots of products, new items, and things like that. So pretty busy time here.
Yes, it has. I think it's been crazy us trying to figure out like when we were going to schedule to do this podcast. So we're doing this one, and we still have another podcast that we have to squeeze in before the end of the month. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but
Hey,
we'll
why
try.
don't we do a podcast live from Rap or Aquashella?
Oh,
No,
I
nix that. No, I didn't say that.
Too late. It's already out there.
We are doing at Aquashella, Texas.
Yes.
Which is going to be the Halloween 30th and 31st of October. We are going to have a live aquascape demonstration in our booth both days.
Yes, I believe that's at 1 o'clock.
I think they're still deciding. I think it's moved to noon.
Okay. I knew they were talking about noon or 1. So if you're listening, stay tuned. We'll have more details on that closer to showtime.
But that'll be fun. And on our site, we'll update the shows, but we're going to talk about them all. So anyways, we'll talk about where we're going to be. Right now, maybe we'll talk about where we were.
Yeah. I can't believe how busy, like it feels like yesterday was the beginning of August and now it's almost the end of August.
Yesterday,
and it's just,
I
mean, at least for you guys, it's been shows nonstop.
Yes. So we started out in, what a lot of people may not know is that DrTim's Aquatics products are in other channels besides the pet fish hobby, the hobbyist. We also sell a lot of products to public aquariums. Yep. And because our products are 100% natural or bacteria, just bacteria, we sell a lot into the aquaculture, hydroponics, and mariculture fields for growing fish, growing plants, basically growing food. So we were at the Aquaculture America conference in San Antonio for a few days earlier this month.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and you might, how do bacteria work in aquaculture? Obviously, water is a scarce resource, and so more and more systems are what's called RAS, R-A-S, recirculating aquaculture systems. And basically it's an aquarium, maybe it's a lot bigger than it is a lot bigger than your home aquarium, a lot higher volumes. And the object here is to grow food. It could be freshwater, saltwater, fish, there's plants, shrimp, all sorts of things. Shrimp, I heard Yep,
it's funny, like I'm familiar with some of those setups because I think if you go to Disney in Florida, they have a whole setup where I think they're growing tilapia, and they use the tilapia, I think, in their restaurants, but they're also growing plants as well. And it's just a really cool setup, but I've never heard of people using shrimp before.
Oh yeah, shrimp aquaculture is very big. There are land-based, because you can grow shrimp in ponds, or that's what I did in the Peace Corps years ago in the Philippines. But you can also grow them far from the ocean in recirculated systems in tanks, and get a very good product close to market, because nowadays, especially, transportation costs are quite expensive.
Yes.
But they have to treat this water, get rid of the ammonia, get rid of the nitrite, make sure there aren't any impurities that can impart distaste. Sometimes, you kind of are what you eat, and fish and shrimp can be, you are what's in the water. So if the water has certain byproducts in it, waste products, it can generate off flavor where the shrimp and the fish just don't taste very good. So that all has to be cleaned up, and then you have to deal with all the waste. And it's the same bacteria that we use in the aquarium, the one and only nitrifying bacteria, are used in aquaculture facilities, and they regularly practice a type of biosecurity where they will sterilize the systems between lots, or every once in a while, just as a prophylactic treatment, they will sterilize the biofilter and start all over just to make sure they don't have any diseases and eliminate the potential of carrying diseases over to the next crop or the next hatchery or something like that. So it's not happenstance. There's a whole science between the aquaculture and then hydroponics is growing food in water. So it's growing plants in water. And that is used bacteria, because if you're 100% natural, you can't add any chemical fertilizers to that water to grow the plants. So it's a pretty cool way. What they have to do is add some type of a natural organic to the water. Well, in order to make that work, you have to add bacteria like our waste away to break those organics down. And as I've said many times on these podcasts, what do those organics get broken down into? Ammonia and carbon dioxide. Well, CO2's needed for plants, and the ammonia goes into the nitrification cycle. So they add the one and only to convert that ammonia to nitrate, because plants would rather uptake nitrate for their nitrogen rather than ammonia. Then what you can do is combine the two, fish culture, aquaculture, with hydroponics, and come up with a term called aquaponics. Now, this is where you're growing both fish and plants. And the fish waste, instead of you adding an organic waste, you're basically having the fish produce the organic waste in the system. And then those organics are broken down and feed the plants. So the fish waste feeds the plants. The plants help filter the water to keep the water healthy for the fish. And you can harvest the crop, both crops. You get plants and fish from it. And there's a lot of science, a lot more complex than that, but it's a very big growing field. A lot of people do this privately. You can buy setups, aquaponic setups for your backyard, and grow different types of fish. Tilapia is very common. You're talking about at Disney, that's Epcot Center. And I haven't been there for a while, but last time I was there, they were growing what's called sunshine bass, which I'm very familiar with. That was what I started out with. It's a hybrid between a striped bass and a white bass. And early in my aquaculture career, before Marineland, before DrTm's, I ran the hatchery and produced millions of those, and worked at a fish farm that produced a couple million pounds of those fish every year.
Oh, wow.
Another story for another day, maybe.
You have all the best stories.
But aquaculture and intensive aquaculture, recirculating aquaculture, produces more protein per pound than any other type of crop. And it's fish protein. It's very healthy, or, you're not allowed to use any antibiotics with fish, anything like that. And the wastewater from the aquaculture facilities can be used to irrigate other crops, to irrigate farmland and duck ponds and all sorts of things. So you can get multiple uses from this water.
Pretty cool.
Yep. So we'll have to have a talk about how we raised fish. We raised 1.5 pounds, so 1.5 pounds of fish in a gallon of water. Now picture your 100-gallon tank with 150 pounds of fish in there.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite sophisticated. Liquid oxygen injection, YouTube injection. Very, very cool, very stressful. When the power went out, we had backup generators and all sorts of alarm systems, and power only goes out at night. Power never goes out during the day.
Only goes out at night when you're on vacation or about to leave
on a Friday or a Saturday when you're trying to get a day off. That's when the power goes out. So that was quite fun. And then at the same time that was going on, we had part of our crew at Aquashella in Chicago. If you've never been to an Aquashella, I highly recommend it, just like we recommend the Reef-A-Paloozas, but Aquashella is a mixture. It's a lot of fun. Why Reef-A-Paloozas are reef oriented. The Aquashellas have a bit of everything. They have freshwater, saltwater, artists, YouTubers, freshwater shrimp, plant contest, landscaping contest. It's just a different crowd and a lot of fun. And the next one is in Dallas, October 30th and 31st. If you're looking for the latest frags and talks on reef tanks, well, then highly recommend, of course, the Reef-A-Paloozas. And the next one of those is in Chicago, October 16th and 17th. And I will be at both. So come on by and say hi.
And I've heard this could just be a rumor that you guys might be dressing up for Halloween at the Aquashella in Dallas.
Say what?
Okay, Susan and I are talking.
I think this is a conspiracy among members of the DrTim crew to get me to dress up.
It's Halloween. How can you not dress up?
Quite easily. This will have to be an online discussion. Yes.
But no, jokes aside, it is a fun, good show. I've only been to one of the Aquashellas before, and they had a kangaroo. Of all things, a kangaroo.
Yeah, that actually is not very good.
Just totally random. I was like, all right, okay, I guess.
Yeah. But they are a lot of fun, both of them. And if you can make it, look, Reef-A-Palooza or Aquashella, look it up on the internet, look at our site, and come out, and you'll see lots of fish stuff, lots of fishy art, really cool things. And It's great for the family. Definitely great for the kids. There's kids areas, face painting, and all sorts of things.
Yep.
Now, if that's too, not enough sciencey for you, coming up September 4th and 5th this year is MACNA, but it's a little different. It's virtual. You can watch some presentations. They're going to have some. Are they doing them? A couple of them live?
Yeah, I think if you buy the passes, I think they have the schedule online, and at the end of the day, they have like Zoom chat rooms, so you can break off into different groups. I know they have the women in reefing one, which I think I've been to a couple of those in the past, and I know there's some other ones as well. So if if you just want to attend the group chats, you can do that, or you can come and watch all of the presenters. But if you go to their website, you can get the tickets for that. I think last year they always have like these, it's not going to be a banquet, obviously, because it's virtual, but they had a room open at the end of last year's. And I think they said it went till like 2 a.m. of just social conversation with people. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Was there virtual drinking?
I'm sure there was lots of drinking, all sorts.
Yes. All with good fun. Then from Aquashella, which was in Chicago and us in San Antonio, we all converged into SuperZoo at Las Vegas, where we premiered several new products. We did some live streams, which most went well. One went off into the ether, I guess, and isn't recorded.
Yes, but the live streams where we talked about the new products, those are definitely up on our channel, so you can go back and watch those. Those are there.
Yeah. So we introduced a couple of new brands, and so within the DrTm's family of products, we now have DrTm's Aquatics, which you're all familiar with. We hope. We now have ASF. ASF is a partnership with Aquarium Systems France, and we were showing our new controllable DC pumps.
Yes.
There's 7 different sizes. They have 6 presets, and also a 5-minute feed. So you can hit the button on the controller and the pump will shut off for 5 minutes. So you can feed your fish without the food going off into the overflow. And then it automatically turns on in 5 minutes. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with DC pumps, there's 2 types of current: alternating current AC, direct current DC. That's as much as that we're going to get into. But with the DC, it's much easier to regulate in terms of with a controller, you can slow the pump down and you're not going to be generating heat. And I won't get into all the technical things, but the main thing is that they're great for being able to control the flow without a flow restrictor, without a valve. You just slow the pump down. And there's tons of uses for them. Our DC pumps can be used as submersible pumps. So you put it in the sump in the tank somewhere, it's submersible under the water, or in line. So you can have it outside the water and, hard plummet. Don't forget the unions, make it easy to disconnect, to clean. And you can use it outside the tank as a remote pump or a non-submersible mode. They have a cool reddish translucent tinge to them on different parts of it. Like I said, 6 different sizes, and we should have those, fingers crossed, by Christmas.
Ooh, I'm very excited. These are really cool looking pumps.
Yes, and we also, with the ASF line, have test kits. 9 different test kits, how to use them in plain English, what the units are, all the things that I've been raving about it. We've hopefully fixed with our set of test kits. So you get the basic pH, ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, phosphate, calcium, magnesium, general hardness, and then so that's your calcium and magnesium together, and then alkalinity. So I think that's
yes. And we've talked about the test kits before in a previous podcast, but it's exciting because they're new, and why not talk about them again?
Yeah, and one of the things we've done, because in most test kits, if they have 2 reagents, you'll get vial 1. You'll get 1 vial for reagent 1, another vial for reagent 2. Well, if you knock it over or do something, you can easily contaminate it. So what we've done is split it up. So reagent 1, say for the nitrite test, it's instead of 1 vial, you get 2 vials. So you use the first one, and that keeps the second one from being exposed to air, from any parts of contamination. When you're done with the first one, you open up the second one. Yep. The other thing is the color change with the chemistry we're doing is pretty distinct. And
yes.
The color charts, you look down, you put the color chart down on a table or something, you put the vial down on top of the color chart and you look down through it. So you're looking down through about 1 inch of water and you can see the color and you can pick it up if it's a low range, or a high range, but just a little bit better. Of course, these are, test kits. They're not $8,000, $10,000 analytical instruments. So they give you a good indication of what's going on. They're easy to use. Keep them away from children. Let's practice some common sense here. And they're affordable and easy, and also they're in stock.
Yeah.
So the second thing that we've Scott. Now within DrTm's, I don't want to skip our media. We showed our media. We introduced it early last year, but then COVID hit and we haven't been able to do a trade show for a year and a half. So this is the first time actually at a show. We have different types of biological media, activated carbon, resins to remove impurities, different ways of removing phosphate. So we've got some GFO, we've got some aluminum oxide, depending on what you're trying to do. The media comes in 2 different sizes, and you can always go to our website, DrTim'sAquatics.com, and get more information on those. But they are also in stock.
Yep. And if you want to learn more about those specifically, that's another one that we have done a podcast on. So go back and check out the old podcast because we did dedicate one strictly to the medias.
Yeah. And we have a nice, biological media. It's opened, and so you get good flow, because if you don't have good flow through your biological media, it's basically just a rock sitting in your aquarium. You need the flow. The bacteria need the flow. We've talked about that many times.
Yep.
And then something that's quite exciting, because it's brand new for me. I know as little about reptiles as I know, as much about fish. It's kind of the opposite, but we have Reptile Systems and a whole line of reptile products. Yes. And I know very little about reptiles. But what's kind of cool is that means I get to ask lots of questions. Well, why this and how do you do that? And that helps with the product development, because the team that we're working with at Reptile Systems, which is part of Aquarium Systems France, the reptile team is based in the UK. Hilary did a podcast with them a few months ago. We've got a great knowledgeable group, and we can translate that into good products that a lot are made in Europe, that make reptile keeping easier, because it's all about, as you'll learn, UVA and UVB and all the lighting. Lighting is very important to the health of reptiles, just like lighting is key to the importance of corals. Yep. So you need lighting, you need heat, you need shade, and you need a really good food. So we've got a whole line of reptile products. Most of the products we're showing right now are lighting: mercury vapor lamps, T5, fluorescent lamps, LEDs and fixtures to hold them in, ceramic heat lamps, and things like that.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of cool. You talk to the guys over Reptile Systems in the UK and hearing the process and how they go through like developing the products, and like they actually use the stuff. Like they have these things, and it's a passion project, kind of like all of what you do is you do it for the passion, and they do it as well. So it's cool to see a brand that makes products that, because they really care.
Yeah, you did, like I say, a podcast with Dale and Peter, and they took you through the reptile room.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and it's very cool talking to these guys, and yes, they're very passionate about that, just like we're passionate about fish. And we'll put the data, because not all lamps are created equal. Not all heat, the mercury vapor for the heat and the UVB, and it can get kind of be overwhelming. When we first started partnering with them and learning about all this lighting, it was like, wow, this is hard. I'll just stick with fish. But then, the last couple of years, we developed a way to use what's called the Ferguson Scale. And this gentleman by the name of Ferguson went all around the world and measured light, not just light, but the UV intensity, because that becomes very important, and the different types of UV, A, B, and C. And he came up with this scale from, forested animals, so reptiles that live in forests that have a lot of canopy, that get a lot of water, a lot of shade. They need different lighting requirements than, say, a bearded dragon or some type of animal living out in the desert. And you don't learn about that when you first get a reptile. Well, you put it in an abandoned aquarium or something like that, and you feed it some mealworms, and that's about it. And that's not good for the health of the animal at all. And there's a lot of science behind what is needed. And if you're going to take on the responsibility of keeping a reptile as a pet, just like keeping fish as a pet, you have the obligation to provide it the environment, the healthiest environment. And it really comes down to lighting. And we've taken this Ferguson scale. You can go on the website reptilesystems.com and see, you can look at, I want to keep a bearded dragon. Well, this is the lights that you need, all color coded and simple, and how to set this up. So it really, there's no guesswork involved. Here's what you're going to need for that animal. And as it grows, what size the vivarium they're going to need, what type of lamps and things like that. And makes it a lot easier to understand.
It's very cool. I think bearded dragons are either like zone 2 or 3, maybe. So you just go and you look for zone 2 or 3, whichever it might be. Like, all right, these are the products that I need, and you're good.
Yep. Well, luckily we have a chart, so we don't have to guess. And bearded dragons are.
You've got the chart.
They're an intermediate between 3 and 4.
Oh, I was halfway there.
Yeah, halfway there. Yeah.
Halfway there.
Yeah, zone 2 are like Grionoles or garter snakes. You know what I didn't realize, because there was a lot of people at the SuperZoo show, a lot of stores, just a large range of people, and everybody talked about the turtles and the tortoises. I didn't, that they keep. I didn't realize how popular turtles. Turtles live in water and tortoises live on land. That's a generalization, but pretty clear. All sorts of the Greek and the Russian and the this and the that. And it was pretty cool.
You have turtles though, don't you?
I have turtles. Yes, I have 4 turtles in the pond. One of my ponds in the backyard. Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael. Oh, shoot. Who's number 4? They were my daughter's pets when she went off to college. And then I got them back, or I got put in charge of them when she came back from college. And now they live in one of my fish ponds in the backyard and do quite well. Been there for a while. Yep. Red-eared sliders.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, but the Reptile Systems products are very cool, available. We're talking about all this. Well, where can you get all this stuff?
Yes.
So there's Reptile Systems, or you can go to my-ASF, my-Reptile Systems, my-DrTm's. Very simple, and that will take you to a website where you can learn about this, see what types of T5 lamps we have, the mercury vapor lamps, we call the Pro 10 New Dawn LEDs, which are very efficient, ceramic heaters, the clamp lamp holders for both the heaters and the mercury vapors, all the different products, and we're adding more as we can get them. As I'm sure everybody knows, supply chains are a little impacted right now from COVID. So we just actually got a container in yesterday from Europe. I'm unloading it and going to be got some new stuff for both reef aquariums. We're going to be adding some LED lights here soon. A new great thing. Oh yeah, you didn't see those. See, I got something in my back pocket, Hilary, you didn't see.
All right.
The container has arrived. We'll have to talk about that, but we've got some 100% blue LEDs.
Ooh.
In the olden days, as they say, people use the blue actinic or the actinic lamps. Well, we've got those in LEDs. So low energy, no heat, really cool. and we'll probably have to do some type of demo for them. But if you really want to see what they look like, maybe you should come to one of the shows we've talked about.
Yeah.
We're actually going to set up. Jerry's going to do some tank setups, but we'll have some setups and we'll be demoing some lights. But you can get those, like I say, my-ASF or my-Reptile Systems, DrTm's Aquatics. Lots of ways to get a hold of us.
Yep. And if you're listening to this and you're having problems finding the links, send us a message. We'll be happy to send you a direct link to where you can buy the products.
Yes. And since most of these that we're talking about are brand new, we will get those into distribution. So they'll be available at your local pet store, but that does take time. Or we should be by Christmas, things like that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. And we'll be adding in the next 12 months, we've got some new products coming out for all of the brands, reptile products, some more pumps and things that I'm not going to tell you yet.
Oh, the anticipation.
Yes. But some very cool things on the ASF side. And then DrTm's, we're working on some new products too.
So much new stuff.
Yep. New things.
Nice.
And we always like to see these in use. In that latest contest you're running with the fish, with the caption, we're getting.
Yeah.
I like the one where the guy said he's yakking and he's right behind me, right?
Yeah, I think that's my favorite one right now. I'm going to give it another day and let people comment, and then we're going to throw them up and let people vote in the stories. And I've got approval to give away some swag. So
we've got t-shirts and buttons and stickers for all the brands, and we're ordering some new stuff. So
yes. Yes.
What else we have going, Hilary?
I'm trying to think. We don't have a ton of stuff going on. Like, it's all been just geared up this month and then just getting everything back together and getting back running on our feet. We do have next month, we are going to be talking a lot about One and Only and First Defense and ammonia. So keep an eye out for that, because I've got some interesting content that is going to be coming out. It's stuff that we've talked about on the podcast. So if you have been listening to us, it's probably not going to be that new, but it's going to be in a new format. So
right, we try to make things easier, and as we get more questions, we go, we can add this or we can add that. And I know we have scheduled to do some videos.
Yes,
which
I'm super excited for the videos.
Yeah, because that way you can actually see how things work. We'll be demoing how to do test kits, what the actual tests mean, because people get confused about nitrite and nitrate and things like that. And cycling, I think the biggest thing is with the cycling is the lack of patience. I bought the One and Only live nitrifying bacteria. I added it this morning. How come my tank isn't cycled?
Yes, I've heard a lot of that lately. So that's, we were talking before we got started about, having some diagrams to show people. So I think that will be helpful as well.
It doesn't happen in 8 hours, folks.
No, it takes time. All good things take time.
Yeah. So the bacteria have to stick to the media and then start working. We get this all the time. The batch was a dud. And I'm not saying we're 100% perfect. Of course, we're not 100% perfect, but we try very hard never to ship duds. So as we talked about, and I gave a talk to the Minnesota Aquarium Society maybe 2 weeks ago. It's like August 8th or something.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the month.
And it was all about freshwater. They're more of a freshwater club. So it was cycling, because at MACNA, we talked about MACNA. So 2 years ago when MACNA was in Orlando, I gave a talk, and it's up on YouTube on, how to quickly cycle, or more quickly, not a day, but just things you can do to cycle your saltwater aquarium faster, because MACNA is more reef and saltwater. And I did the equivalent thing for freshwater. And I would definitely try to find that, and we can do a talk like that on a podcast too, because not a common, but more common than you think, especially with betta bowls and smaller aquariums. People go to the store or a water dispenser, and they get absolutely pure RODI water, really super great pure water for your iron or something. Not so good for your fish aquarium.
Nope.
Too pure for your bacteria. And that causes problem, but they don't understand. I got the purest water. Well, bacteria don't live in absolutely pure water, and pure water, by that we mean no iron, no calcium, no magnesium, no sulfate, just nothing in there. It's not very good for the bacteria at all.
I think about those water purification stations and stuff. If you look at them, it's like it goes through all of these different types of filters. Like, well, it's probably getting rid of any bacteria that might have been in the water. So it's a good indicator that it's not a good place for them to thrive or even exist.
So we can do a podcast on that, because we make products for both freshwater and saltwater. The test kits, freshwater, saltwater, the ASF line of pumps can be used for freshwater and saltwater too. You don't have to, or that isn't just for a reef tank. There's lots of uses for a good DC pump in freshwater systems, and large freshwater tanks, and save some electricity and be able to monitor without a valve. What happens with a traditional pump is that it only has one speed, so it's pumping the water. If the water flow rate is too much, you put a ball valve. Either you shouldn't really put a ball valve on the intake side. You should never restrict the intake of a pump, because that can cause air. So basically, like a straw, it's going to maybe suck air in there, which can cause supersaturation of nitrogen, which is a big problem. So never restrict the intake of your pump. You restrict the output by putting a valve in there. And if you want to reduce the flow rate, you close the valve. But that causes the pump basically to work harder and generate heat, which you don't really want. So we'll go through, and we'll do a future podcast about the difference between AC and DC pumps, but they can be used in freshwater and saltwater aquariums equally.
Taking notes.
You're making notes.
Always taking notes.
Yeah, always taking notes. And then proper use of test kits. We should do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the difficulty with the calcium, magnesium, alkalinity, hardness tests is that they're a titration. And right there, that may be a word that you've not heard before. So what I call the standard test, the pH, ammonia, nitrite, phosphate. You add reagents, one reagent up to maybe 3 reagents, depending on the test. And you add them in the right order, shake it, be very careful. Don't use your fingertip, cover the vial with the cap. Okay, let's be safe here. These are chemicals. And then it will change color. And the color intensity is matched to the amount of the target chemical. So if you have nitrite, if you add the reagents and the water's clear, after all that, in the time, there's a time lapse after the last addition of the last reagent, then it's not there. But if there's the more nitrite there is, the deeper the color. And it's a pretty simple test. But with these other tests, these titration tests, what you have to do is you add one liquid, which is called an indicator, and then you take another liquid, and typically you would add drops. And you add drops and swirl it, add another drop and swirl it. And at some point, the water is going to change color. It'll go from clear to a color, or it'll go from maybe a yellow to a blue. There'll be a color change. And you count the drops, and then you look at a chart and you've got a rough idea. Where we're different is we give you a 1 mil syringe that you fill with the titrant, and then you drop that in very precise. The syringe is easy to use, and you're adding a very known amount for the color change, and then you can go to the chart. And the point being that you're going to get a better reading because you're adding a more defined, smaller increment. So you can get a much more precise reading on what your values are. But it takes a little practice to add these types of things. You don't want to just squeeze in. You want to use a little, one small drop at a time with these syringes. And we'll demonstrate that for you.
I would say that sounds like a good one to definitely be turned into a video.
Yeah. Easy to use once you understand the concept, and much better increments. So instead of it's 10, between 10 and 20, well, it's 10, 12, 14, on some of these, which gives you a good idea of what's going on. And if you've been listening to this series, calcium and magnesium make up hardness, and alkalinity is your buffering, but we'll go over all that because it's always good to go over things.
Yes. All right.
All right. So lots
got ideas for 4 new podcasts.
I'm sorry, what's that?
We've got ideas for 4 new podcasts. We're going to be set till the end of the year.
Yes. And I'm not dressing up, Hilary.
Okay. We'll see.
We'll see.
It's Halloween. Got to dress up as like your favorite fish or a shark costume or a dinosaur. Possibilities are limitless.
Shark. DrTim's shark team. That would be kind of fun.
I have stingray costumes.
You have stingray costumes.
I do.
Okay, come as your favorite fish. Well, maybe we'll have to do some. I don't know.
It could be fun. It could be fun.
It could be fun. The Aquashella Halloween.
I like it. Halloween is my favorite holiday. Like any excuse to dress up and get candy.
I hear someone's a little bit of a donut aficionado.
Oh, yes. I will not hide that. I love donuts. Yes.
All right. So now you know a little secret about Hilary. She'll work for donuts.
Yes. Food, donuts.
Yep. Cool. Okay. So I think we've talked about the shows that are coming up. Really would like to see everybody. We enjoy people coming out, meeting everybody. That's the purpose of these shows, face to face. Have some fun, talk fish, talk plants, just talk about everything. And it's a fun hobby we're all involved in, and we're quite passionate here at DrTim's, and we're learning new things, which is great on the reptiles. That's very nice.
It's a lot of fun. All right. Well, if you are listening to this and you have any questions that we haven't answered, we do have another Q&A podcast coming up. If we don't get to it this month, we'll definitely get to it next month. So send in your questions if you have those. And if not, we hope to see you at the shows.
Yeah, and be looking, at the websites, because we'll be unpacking the pallets, getting pictures, and getting the new products up there and getting them on the stores and into the distributors to get in stores. Pretty exciting.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for listening to another episode of DrTim's Aquariums podcast with Dr. Tim and Hilary. We much appreciate you listening to us. Bye for now.